Welcome back, guys, to another Let's Play and Chill. Today we're going to be doing Jerusalem. Now, these missions tend to be pretty interesting, I'll put it that way, the Jerusalem level. As seen in the film.
Phoenix, how's it look from up there?
Seeker 300 deep at Greengold's house.
We got hope for backup. He's dead if we wait. We gotta get him out now. Zip it.
It's quiet. Too quiet. Oh.
Hey, see that? Checkpoint's got an alarm system.
We lure in the Zeds and take the heat off Greengold.
Affirmative. Clear the compound and place defenses.
Barbed wire.
Got a defense kit here.
I swear I smell a lurker.
Thank you.
Poop. I think I'm gonna keep the barbed wire because the next part's going to be pretty difficult and I need all the support that I can humanly get, so I'm just gonna risk it for the biscuit today. I forgot which way they come from. I think they come from this way primarily. They do give me this. Oh yeah, here they come. There's the big guy. Get out of here with that.
One after another.
Today, guys, I think I want to talk about one of my favorite, not presidents, but I would probably say historical figures who just gets completely crapped on in history. And that is the second president of the United States of America, John Adams, Massachusetts, with a very interesting life. He's such a funny human being, and kind of someone that, if he were born today, I think he would fit in very well with the political climate that is largely occurring, if that makes any sense. A true foundational believer in the ideas of freedom and liberty, and above all else, I think most, if not an overwhelming majority of his ideals tended to be a part of what we consider the American ethos today and the ideas of freedom. Originally from Massachusetts, learned a lot, was just a rebel from the get-go. When he was younger, he had this Massachusetts newspaper where he wrote under a different name, pseudonym, whatever you want to call it, and was just posting these ideas about freedom and what the idea of what America should be. It was like a constitutional republic, and was instrumental in a lot of ways of influencing a lot of the younger and newer generations of Americans who were starting to read John Locke, all that stuff, and really was spearheaded a lot of the stuff that was largely happening. It does help that his cousin is Samuel Adams, not of beer lore, but the rebel revolutionary itself. But he was also a lawyer by trade, and one who really believed in the ideas of law, order, and actual representation, the ideas that would become many of the foundational amendments, for instance, in our Constitution. In fact, during the Boston Massacre, he actually represented the soldiers who shot and killed a bunch of the Americans at the behest of the British, actually, because they were like, "You're an honest man. You're an honest person who will give these guys a fair trial," as the Americans are about to lynch these British soldiers. And he begrudgingly ended up doing it. It's a funny story how that ended up happening. I forgot the specific details of it, but he ends up becoming paramount and actually gets off most of them. Who, while it wasn't justified, it was an understandable circumstance situation. So it's basically just like, yeah, they killed them, but let's be honest, maybe, like, let's mark this as like a second-degree murder kind of thing, you know, and actually ends up saving a lot of them from the death penalty. He was a true believer in these ideals, and it's helped by the fact that his wife is foundational in a lot of these aspects. They had a wonderful marriage by all accounts, and I think a lot of people consider her like the first feminist, however you want to perceive that. But I think Mrs. Adams, I'm forgetting names. I should have probably read up on them before I recorded all these, but I'm just doing most of this from memory. You know, she really was like, no, we're going to be equal partners in the house kind of thing, and, you know, things that today we generally would be like, okay, that seems pretty reasonable. She would do the wifely things, but, you know, we both have an equal say in how things are going to go. In fact, she was a big reason why John Quincy Adams actually went with his father overseas when John leaves to go and try and garner support for the war. Paramount. Now, during the war, his family ends up having to leave because the thing's coming out, and he's just basically trying to keep his family safe, and he leaves across the seas to go and secure, you know, supplies, men, support for the war, traveling all across the country, or all across the world, really, with Benjamin Franklin, who's trying to solicit a lot of, you know, lurid stuff. You know, like, in a lot of ways, Bohemian is not the right word. I think Bohemian means more so people who can just, who don't have any attachment to anything, kind of thing, you know, like an actual free spirit. It's not Ben Franklin, but he definitely was someone who enjoyed the company of ladies, especially the French ladies. And but John Adams, for like 5-6 years during the entirety of the war, is trying to garner support overseas for this conflict that's happening, for the ideals that he wants to preserve and push forward, and freedom and liberty. He goes to like Belgium, he goes to France, he goes to a whole bunch of different places.
Goddamn screamer, he's bringing in more of them.
Silence that son of a bitch!
Get that guy. Not kill the screamer, good eye. Yeah, oh no! Come on. Oof, this is becoming very, very difficult. Battle rifle. I'll take that happily. It was full.
Alpha, nothing moving out here. You're clear.
Time to haul ass, dog.
I mean, he goes overseas, does all this stuff. He's away from the country for a very long time, which people tend to forget about, you know.
It's useless. Shit. Where are they? Okay, I've been tracking them. One is at the hospital and one is at the consulate.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Great. Okay.
Oh, suck it up. Let's find the damn codes.
I do want to point out with this game that, generally speaking, I do really like how a lot of these levels are both look and how they are very well designed. The zombie animations can be a little funky at times, but ultimately, I think this is a very well made and well done game. And there's a reason why this game has had a lot of long legs since its release. 'Cause I think this game came out like 2019.
Rise. One after. Gotta reload.
Of course, there's rats. Rats everywhere.
We're totally exposed. Look at all these open windows.
If only I had a breaching charge. I think this part they don't actually specifically highlight where the briefcase is. You just have to be in the vicinity. There we go.
I got one of the cases.
In order to find them.
Nice work. Let's find the next one and get out of here.
Doc, we're heading to the second case. Be ready to move.
I'll be ready.
Let's just run away. Let's just not avoid that. We gotta find the good vibes. This is supposed to be a Let's Playing show with the history lesson inside of it. Now, in fairness, with a lot of these history things that I'm talking
I
about,
like this place.
always take things with a grain of salt. I could be wrong on certain aspects, or mischaracterizing or judging things. And,
I'm reloading.
you know, I just read a lot of books. I read like 3 books on George Washington, 2 or 3 books on John Adams. Pretty much, I just love American history and just history in general. So I try to read as much as I can, and I try to, at least when I talk about these things or I look at these things, I try and tinge it with an understanding of the complexities of what goes on around not only the country but the world at large that lead to the circumstances that ultimately ends up creating what makes our nation and just what makes the world it is today.
Got number 2. Let's get
So,
the doc and get out.
take it for what it is. But John Adams, though, and he comes back, wants to be part of the first, before he leaves, I should probably note that he was also one of the writers of the Declaration of Independence. And I'll be honest, I would probably say it's like, and this is just my own personal view, just based off of their beliefs foundationally, I'd say it's 40% Adams, 40% Jefferson, and 20% Benjamin Franklin. That's how I would characterize it in terms of who wrote the Declaration of Independence and whose ideas permeated throughout. That's just my perspective of it. And Adams is so paramount with it, and he always had a wonderful relationship, at least in the early goings, with Thomas Jefferson. Became difficult later in life due to the differing foundational ideals that they ultimately wanted for both the country, the nation at large, etc., etc. And it became difficult over time for them to square the two things, which is unfortunate because they believe in a lot of the same ideals. It was always just about 1 or 2 things that they would always come in conflict with that became very difficult for them to really work out ultimately.
go. Reloading. We got them all.
Some fair, some not. I think part of it too became somewhat personal over some time between the two when it came to those ideals. Just gonna screw it. Just gonna do it. And I already feel like this is a waste of a perfectly good turn. Gatling gun, machine gun. Whatever.
Drop that tower now.
Oh, actually got that there. I wish I had a slightly better gun than that. But Adams comes back, I believe, with the sun at this point, or I forgot, because John Quincy Adams ends up doing a lot of things around this time. Becomes a diplomat. I'll get to him later. He's such a fascinating human being and figure. But largely, you know, time passes, and yeah, I'll just leave this here.
Shit! Here they come.
And just you know, hope for the best. Hope the vibes are good, and we'll see what happens. Peoples. I'll leave this here. They're gonna be coming from that way quite a bit. That's a lot of zombies. Get away. Get away. But John comes back, wants to be, and tries to do his best to steer everything in a positive way. He's one of the many leaders that is paramount to the Constitution being made and the constitutional process, really. But just like George, because John's a little bit older in this way. He's not Benjamin Franklin old or George Washington old, ultimately, but he definitely leaves a lot of the things up to the people, constituents that want certain things, and was a very paramount figure, so much so that because of what he was able to do and help bring forces, specifically the French, in helping largely turn the tide of the Revolutionary War, they nominate him specifically to become the vice president, which he takes, you know, dutiful care for it. But also, it is a little bit tricky, though, because I know John Adams thought being the vice president was a little bit of a slight, because it's not like I'm the president, I'm just like I'm not really even the second in command. In fact, he and George had a very weird relationship. I wouldn't say it was bad, but I certainly don't think George saw him as this key ideological figure to really gain a lot of help and support from. Specifically, that's why he ended up having a cabinet, is because I don't know if he ever truly thought about John Adams in that way as a figure. That's a lot of zombies. The zombie physics, oh my goodness, just the swarms that you can that occur. It is wild in this game. Alright guys, this is part 1 of Jerusalem. We're going to continue in just a little bit. Alright guys, welcome back. Now the actual Jerusalem level is a little bit interesting, because they basically, the whole point of this level is that the Special Forces group is supposed to try and instill this satellite targeted laser system that's going to kill a bunch of these zombies and, you know, wipe them out in large swaths.
This is it. Any closer and those AA guns will tear me up.
Wouldn't want to scratch your paint job.
Now this level is pretty difficult. It's gonna be very difficult if you do this on a higher level by yourself. It's just impossible because they come here at every angle and they definitely don't stop. The next two levels in particular are very difficult. Jerusalem's just a real hard level to. Nah. Good. Hard level to square.
I'm reloading.
But anyways, back to John Adams. Doesn't really do anything as the Vice President of the United States. The first Vice President, by the way. Actively so, doesn't do anything. You know. Which did irk him quite a bit, understandably so. It's like, hey, I have all these ideas on how to actually run the country, and George is like, you know, listen to Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton. And it's also a big reason why there's a schism for Adams and Jefferson. At least that's the start of it. What really begins it, though, is when Washington leaves, and then there's just this big void of like, well, what's going to happen now? Who's going to run this country? You know, and they hold the first. So I timed that grenade perfectly. And they hold the first election in this country's history, like the actual first election. Yeah, that's gonna go there definitely. Which leads to really the first. I don't want to say the first breaking point. There's been a bunch of breaking points within the history of this country, where you know things get real dicey. But this is where like the first real test in fortitude without George Washington largely occurs. This is basically like what's gonna happen when there is no one who's like the de facto unequivocal leader. Like what's gonna happen when he's gone and we have to figure things out on our own? You know, what's gonna happen when there's gonna be a schism? There's gonna be issues that come across and that we have to figure out without him. And this first election, if anything, is the big issue that's gonna really determine a lot of things and figure to be. Oh, look at that. I want to talk about like political ads nowadays. I mean, like there was just fire, just a lot of things that should not have been said, very improper things. I want to talk about political ads. Like this is just people basically just yelling, you know, John Adams' wife is a whore, you know, stuff like that. Oh, shouldn't have given me this gun. I know there's some here.
One after another.
Good lord, people. Get away. Get away. This gun is way too powerful. Just stupidly powerful. But it's a very contested election, and this is where, you know, political parties start forming. Obviously, there's different sects of political parties, not just Whigs and what people constitute Democrat Republicans, but are largely just Jeffersonians and people with those particular ideals. No, it goes beyond that. It's a lot of people end up just consolidating their behind just certain political candidates because it's just the most opportune and most likely to win. That's the reason why I think political parties tend to just not necessarily be pointless in people trying to defend it or give one or two reasons why like they shouldn't exist, but it's just like this is just what happens, you know? Especially in like the UK, for instance, where in the UK they have like many different political parties. In Germany they have many different political parties. But
Hey, stay still. I got you.
give you some help, boy.
Lifesaver. Thanks.
But ultimately, people just end up, you know, giving their support to one particular political party or creating these coalitions that ultimately end up just sufficing to do what the political parties ultimately want. At least the majority political parties ultimately want. I think people just figured, you know what, whatever, we'll do this and do that. And begrudgingly so, John Adams ends up siding largely with Hamilton's party, which is the Whigs, or not the Whigs. Was this the Whigs? This might have been the Whigs, or the party before the Whigs. No, they were the Federalists. Sorry, I'm getting things confused. The Whigs were the party that came after the Federalist Party, because at heart he was a Federalist, and then Adams had many Jefferson had many disagreements with the Constitution and a lot of the ideals that were coming from it. But largely, that's just what the political parties were at that particular time, and this led to
Doors are motorized.
Adams and Jefferson running against one another. It was a very hotly contested election, but Adams pretty much won out because the northern states had more of a population and a populace, and ended up voting for, you know, the northerner, which again leads to more of a schism with a lot of people, because it's like, another northerner this time. Like, the South's having their issues. Jefferson using that to his advantage eventually. You know, things become hotly contested, put it that way. There was also the rules back then too, with the initial Constitution, that whoever was the loser was going to be the person's vice president, which makes sense objectively, because it's like, okay, well, if you couldn't get your first person, then the second person is going to be the guy who's hypothetically next in line, which doesn't also go into the details of, well, what happens if that person's a sore loser and doesn't want to actually do their due diligence in their job, and actually self-destructs the person who actually won presidency, you know. And surprisingly, I don't think Jefferson did as much as some historical accounts will say that he did, because I just don't think he did anything. And largely just let Adams fall on his own, and didn't really booster any support, and ultimately didn't want America to fail, so he helped when he did, and could, within reason. But John Adams wins the first election, technically, actual election that's not a unanimous vote, because Washington was a unanimous vote both times, and becomes the second president of the United States all the way up until the 1800s. Uh-oh. Come on, boy. Get off my boy, Ethan.
There's no way through. Dead ahead.
Adams becomes president, only serves one term because he ends up losing in his re-election bid, but it's a very tumultuous term, which, unfortunately for him, is I think the one thing that ultimately damages his, I think, incredible legacy. Because I think up to this point he's largely done everything right in what he's supposed to do, but with a lot of opposition from the Jeffersonian wing of the parties, and the difficulties of what is becoming the French Revolution, for instance, makes things so much more difficult than it actually needs to be. And this leads to a bunch of things that become scandals during his presidency. There's a bunch of them. I kind of forgot what a lot of them were. A bunch of them are going to be coming, so I gotta be ready.
One after another.
I did not think. Oh, never mind. I spoke way too soon. Ah, crap. Not good. Not good. What the heck, guys? Oh, that's not on them. That's 100% on me. I'm just an idiot. Okay. dogs and what have you. They probably see like someone walking their dogs next door. Anyway, we're just gonna continue through this part. Look at that, people. That horde is coming.
We gotta get out of here now.
We better be gone when they get here.
Just need some more ammo. The vehicle's right there. Adams, I think, unfortunately gets crapped on in history because of his presidency, which largely has just been, I don't even want to say it was sabotage. That's probably not the right way to phrase it, but he didn't garner a lot of help, created a lot of opposition, because of how he acted things, because his personality, for better and worse, is a very standoffish personality. He's certainly not someone who's going to make a lot of friends, and was stubborn in a lot of his ways. I think there was an HBO show with excuse me, Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti plays John Adams in the show, and just based off of the writings and of him and the biographies I've written, I'll probably argue that's a pretty fair depiction of John Adams and his personality. For better and for worse, you know, he wasn't like completely stuck up or antagonistic, but he was certainly a far more, I think, arrogant and no. Give me my gun back. Give me my gun back. Yeah. We gotta move, because if they come, this is not going to be a very bueno situation. Unfortunately, he ends up pissing off a lot of people. There's an issue with, like, I forgot what it was. But it was probably the big scandal of his career that I think required the Supreme Court to come in, or had to be adjudicated from the courts. Man, I gotta open up a textbook before I talk about all this stuff. There was a big enough scandal that actually generally harmed his presidency and what he wanted to accomplish, especially at the tail end of it, and his re-election bid.
Here you go.
Yeah. Get to the van. As we escape, as this large swarm just comes at the last possible second. Oof.
All of you just shut up for a
Yeah,
second.
it's not happening. We would definitely lose at that part.
Phoenix, I think we made it. Heading to the base. Be ready.
Good to hear your voice, Alpha. Standing by.
Alright guys, this is going to end this particular part. We're going to continue in just a moment. Stay tuned. Just give us a second. Welcome back. My dogs are going a little crazy right now. I do apologize.
Sit tight back here, Doc. But I know the layout of the compound.
Can't risk it, even with your pistol skills.
We'll let you know when it's safe.
It's on the other side of the compound, but it'll be locked down. How do we get in?
Man, I missed my battle rifle and my advanced combat rifle.
So, we're searching corpses and uniform Zeke.
That's most likely.
Protocol is to set mines on retreat, so move with caution. I got nothing. Got the key card.
Ooh, what is this?
Am I cleared to come through?
All right, Gringold, let's go.
Great, I found the key card.
I'm coming through.
Forgot, is there anything in
Enemy
here?
mines.
That's the question.
What do you got?
Keep it down.
Game time, baby.
Stay alive,
Look out for the
dude.
lurker.
Just stay alive.
Gates locked from the outside. They must have abandoned the compound.
That's not gonna budge without a breaching charge.
Oh, coincidentally, we have a breaching charge. Great.
Blowing the door.
The election of 1800 was. I thought, if you think the first one was rough for Adams and family and everyone there who witnessed it, take note because the second one was just as tumultuous and difficult. Out of here. Out of here, fam. And just as combative and destructive in a lot of ways. Very, very, very difficult.
Here's your card.
I'll get it all.
Oh,
I'm reloading.
What the hell? I set off the alarm! Shut it down! I could try to override, but do it! It can open every door in the
motor.
Open the fucking door!
Anything here? I need a breaching charge for that one as well.
Mortar in place.
Okay. I think for the most part this is the best we're going to be able to do, so screw it.
One after another.
Run to the turn. Run to the motor. That's not what I want. Fire.
I'm going as fast as I can.
Mowing them down.
Fire. Refill, refill, restock. Come on, restock this one. Have one more. Nope, I do not. Come get some!
One after another.
Okay. Restock, reload. Into the bunker. Run, 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 run. That election in 1800 was very vicious, though. And led to a lot of problems, I'll put it this way. God, not good.
Mowing them down.
Of course he makes it through. Of course. Come on. But Thomas Jefferson wasn't playing around this time. Bolstered a lot of support on his side, which led to John Adams, and just the fact that John Adams just kept screwing up during his presidency. Some of his fault, not his fault. Ultimately led to him really losing pretty decisively. Jefferson wins a unanimous, no, not unanimous, but like wins very, very vigorously. and Adams is relegated to, you know, just pondering, you know, if everything that he did in his life was purposeful and meaningful, and yada yada. Soon after his wife dies, he's left pretty much alone, which pretty sad, to be honest with you, at the end of his life. The only good thing, though, is, well, two things. One, he lives a very, very long time. He lives to be about 90 years old.
Watch that goddamn lurker!
Which is kind of crazy if you really think about it.
One after another!
But he ends up living quite a very long time. Rebuilds his relationship largely with Thomas Jefferson once Jefferson leaves office, and the two really never see each other again, unfortunately. The two great American patriots and founding fathers. But they have a letter correspondence with one another that's famous to this day, pretty much up until the rest of their lives. Which is crazy to think about, because they both died the same day, by the way. Both were in ill health at the time, and, you know, I think their last letters were like, well, at least, you know, Jefferson or yada yada Adams will outlive me, and, you know, will carry on this legacy that we have created together. And, you know, I just think it's not ironic, but, you know, it is just like, huh. It's a little interesting that happened, and also fitting that the Adams and Jefferson both die on Independence Day. Like, you can't write it in you can't make a movie that's like this. It's crazy, I think.
Flip the switch! Let's go. Wish I had my camera for
Put
this
this
shit.
fan on.
I
Yes,
think that's all of them.
thank you.
Down below in the command center.
I'm just gonna watch this for a second and just enjoy. Beautiful. Just the blood spatters and everything. Just really gets me going. Hey, what's up, bro?
We're at full power. Network is solid. Yeah, it's going to work.
Beautiful. We'll cover the doors.
I can't do it alone.
Okay, well, what do we have to do?
The console downstairs. Auto turrets locked and loaded. Done.
My advice to anyone is, if you have the opportunity to, please save all of those defense grids as much as you humanly can.
Son of a bitch!
Just chuck a grenade up in there. Ah. Nope.
Look out for the
Because
lurkers.
they will come in and absolutely save your life. I will put it that way.
Yes. Lurker.
So you spin up the motors.
Lurker out.
Ah, good lord.
Auto turret online. Done.
And although I think this episode's going to be almost over, we should probably talk about the beginnings of great Thomas Jefferson. Another president who, like, or another political figure and historical figure like Adam or Alexander Hamilton, for instance, which I think those two are like the two contemporaries of their particular time and era in terms of their power, influence, and just what they mean to the country. He is a very complicated and fascinating figure, just to put it mildly. A believer in the ideals of the revolution, almost detrimentally so in a lot of ways. And one whose ideological beliefs I tend to probably agree with more so than, a lot of others. But as a man who is just like any man, capable of good and bad, he falters more often than he actually succeeds. And it's not to be a detriment to Thomas Jefferson, for instance. It's just more of a unfortunate reality of who he was as both a political figure, a historical figure, and how we can come to remember him, fairly and unfairly. That's probably the best way I could probably summarize it for the most part. He was right about a lot of things in terms of the direction that America was going to go to as a country and not as a worldwide unified power. But, I don't know if he helped stop or curb that when he had the opportunity and when he had the power to do so, I think he was able to do a lot of really good things. I also think that it's very difficult to justify a lot of the things that he ended up doing or believing in. And more so specifically when he was president. I think overall he's probably one that I thought was not the best president, but one that I understood a lot of the things that he ultimately ended up doing and believing in, and can at least justify it. Like, if he was going to do it and be president today, I think it would be pretty fair to say that, like, okay, look, I did this, I did that. It's not what my beliefs are, but I think it's fair to say that if anyone else was put in this exact situation, y'all would be doing the exact same thing. I think that's something that I would surmise and agree with. That ultimately is what I think of when I think of his presidency, when I think of him as both a historical figure and a leader. Oh. Grenade. Yes. Did it. Take it. Take it. Sorry, my dogs are going to be very loud for the next couple minutes. Family's home, so they're just excited to see my pops.
Can't wait to see him fry. What do you got? Got a defense kit here.
Phoenix!
Okay, let's just see how well this is gonna go.
We're in deep shit. Phoenix.
I prepared as well as I possibly could.
Mayday! Phoenix!
Alpha, I read you.
We need evac. Air defense is down.
Alpha, I am inbound.
Where are you coming from first, people? Come from this side. Okay.
Shit.
Good
Here they
lord.
come.
Look at all these.
Down.
That's a lot of zombies.
Switch sides. Swarming. Gotta reload.
I think they're gonna come from this side too. We'll see. Yep, here they come. Now this one's extra difficult because you have to try to survive for multiple time, for quite a bit of time, instead of just like you have to just go through one wave or this wave. Juice yet? Nope. Ah, son of a gun. I thought you guys liked me. Help me. God. God, this is not the way that I wanted this to go. Jefferson was a Virginian. He also lived under that Virginian lifestyle. Grew up pretty much just like as aristocratic as you can humanly be. A brilliant young mind at a very young age. That is undeniable when it comes to Thomas Jefferson. You know, he had the help and likes of his contemporaries, Isaac Newton and all that. Great conversations, read every single book. His library is one of the most brilliant and large pieces of just, it's incredible. I've never been there, I've just seen pictures of it. It is intuitive. He was someone who was more practical more than anything else. Which also influences ideals as well. Far more of an individualistic figure than really anything else. And, you know, put those ideals to... evac zone. How am I supposed to do that? Oh lord. Alright, going strength. I'm supposed to just defend the position. Cool. Go to the chopper.
Let's go.
Upstairs. Nope, and that's just the end of it.
Gringotts, how long do you need?
Watch this.
Holy shit! Hold on! Great God Almighty!
Well, it works.
That's the end of the Israel episode, guys. I'll continue talking about big Thomas Jefferson after. God bless. Like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy it. Sorry about the dogs. We'll try to curtail that in future episodes. Y'all rock. Have a good one.